Hello everybody and welcome back. Had a reasonably decent response to the test episode for the Multi IFR simulator with the, it's basically Microsoft Flight Sim 10, available on Steam. Yeah, and that was a approach to Cranbrook, British Columbia, about 400 miles in off the Pacific Ocean, just above the American border in the west coast of Canada. Kind of a tough airport to get into, such rough terrain. And as you can see, what we're looking at here is some very rough terrain. This literally is right on the doorstep of Vancouver, British Columbia, which is right on the west coast, right on the Pacific, just above the American border in Canada. And so very close, like right on the coast. And this is literally, you could spit and hit this. Vancouver sits right at the base of this terrain. Very rough area. We're up about 20,000 feet right now, which is typical for any aircraft. It's certainly a regional aircraft, say coming out of Alberta or something like that, which is the Great Plains of Canada. And heading eastward, you head through Saskatchewan and all that. Anyways, a little bit less information about the topographical area, except to say this is an exact representation from topographical maps of the world. This is not just sort of, oh, we'll throw some mountains in there for scenery. No, this is an exact representation of what is here for mountains. And like you could, I actually live here, and I know all these mountains, and I could almost name them all, the ones right beneath us anyways, because I live literally, let me bring this around a little bit. I live right on, this is the Fraser River, and I live right behind this cloud here. Right here on the ground. This is Vancouver in the distance. Looks kind of like gray rock. That's actually built up concrete and city. This is the city of Vancouver. And again, literally right on the edge of some of the roughest terrain in the world that goes like for 1,000 miles that way. Anyways, if you didn't catch the first episode, just quickly, some years back, I was actually one of the top multi IFR instructors in Canada. Enjoyed the respect of my peers and some of the people who actually owned some of these companies. Certainly one of the best companies in Canada, which was Professional IFR out of Vancouver. John, the owner there, was well aware of me. And yeah, anyways, that's enough of that. I've forgotten, it's been years now, I've forgotten more than I remember by a long shot, but I still remember so much that make worthwhile watching these simulations, and they're pretty accurate. Okay, just so you know, this is not just a video game. This truly is a simulator, and I'm going to treat it like one. We're going to do a second episode into Vancouver, Vancouver International Airport. Much tougher approach. Much happens much quicker. We're up so high, we got to get down so quick to get in to the airport. That sounds easy enough, but that's only because you don't fly. There's a lot of speed buildup and losing altitude. It's tricky, and you got to know what you're doing. I make it look simple, but trust me, it's not. And yeah, a lot more happening here, a lot more calls. They're going to set us up for 26 right, which is our flight plan. We're still under the flight plan. We're going to end up on what they call vectors, where they're just going to start giving us headings and altitude, and we don't have to no longer worry about navigating per se. And they're going to direct us into the airport. But I'm going to switch us to 26 left approach and landing, because that's what my avionics are set up for. So enough of this. Let's get into the cockpit, and we will unpause the simulation, and away we go. Paying special attention to my mouse. This is where our directives are coming from the air traffic control center. This is where we control. That's not for me, that's for another aircraft. This is the autopilot, which I'm going to do a lot of my commands from, and that is for me. Bombardier Juliet 70, descend and maintain 14,000. I will repeat the calls. I like doing that. So we're going to start dropping the aircraft nose, and we're going quite fast, so I got to start dropping the speed here right away, and I'm going to pick up just a little bit of slack to keep us from exceeding the speed of the airframe, what it wants. And we'll keep that going down to 14,000. I'm moving it over here, and you see it represented here. 1421, and whoop, came up on me because the things move around without the mouse moving. Okay, 14,000 is what we're set for. We're still under basically following a flight path that we planned using the VOR Airways. And yeah, pretty soon she's going to put us on vectors, which is now we just fly the heading, she says, the altitude, she says, and they're going to guide us to the final approach, which is also another set of radio beacons, which are going to basically guide us into the runway. Pretend these windows are painted white. You cannot see anything. That's what IFR means, instrument flight rules. And we're flying by this alone. You don't need to see where you're going until the very last second, which is like literally 100 to 200 feet off the tarmac, to see the runway lined up perfectly in front of you, just to flare out, which is to raise the nose, lose the speed, and touch down. That's 100 feet above ground, and you've got to be perfectly lined up with the runway to do that.
Juliet 70, contact Vancouver Center on 125.95.
125.95 for Juliet 70.
Going to 125.95, Bombardier Juliet 70.
So that's the automated repeating me. So I'll push 1 to tune Vancouver Center, and I'll press 1 to contact them. That's happening in the left here if you're not watching. Little window in the bottom left here.
17,400 for 14,000. Bombardier, November, Charlie, Romeo, Juliet 70.
So he's giving us the barometric pressure for the altimeter. This number has to match what's here. If it doesn't, I press B on my keyboard and it'll line up. Barometric pressure is very important because it determines what your altitude actually is. Barometric changes. This might actually say I'm at 14,000. It could be at 12,000 if your barometric pressure isn't scaled correctly. You have to have this number right. Yeah, so here he's trying to set us up for the ILS approach for runway 26 right, and this is where I'm going to change it. Okay, so I'm going to tell him to stand by with number 2. And I'm going to actually run a... So he's acknowledging he's standing by, so I'm just going to hold my current heading. I'm going to want runway 26 left. And I'm also going to select another approach. So I have to tell him to stand by again. Kind of a bug within this. It shouldn't be a standby. And I'm going to want ILS runway 26 left, which is 1. And I'm going to want vectors to the final approach. And I'm going to request the approach and the runway from the controller.
Bombardier Juliet 70.
So I'm going to switch this basically to 26 left approach and landing. And he's going to acknowledge this. Then he's going to give me a new vector heading. Now he wants us to turn to 275. So I'm going to set up my heading bug, which is here. Watch the little pink thing in the compass down here. You can see it moving. And to the left of that, you see the print numbers. 275 is what we're looking for. That's for somebody else. And I have to acknowledge him here. And I'm now going to switch from our pre-planned course to a heading bug. We're now under vectors. So he's just changed our heading. We still have the same... Yeah, here comes... He wants us now to drop to 6,800. I have to acknowledge that. 6,800 for Juliet 70. But I have to change our speed. We've got to be inside 250. Oh, I'm not watching things there. We need to be inside 250 to go below 10,000. I'm going to take another bit of flap, and I am going to change our altitude, sorry, to 6,800. Come on, the aircraft's moving around and the mouse doesn't move with it. Expedite your... Oh no. 132.7 for Juliet 70.
Going to 132.7, Bombardier Juliet 70.
Now I'm going to switch our avionics to the ILS radios, which are basically right down there. These are the frequencies we're using for the ILS approach. Just put ourselves back reasonably in position here. Okay, now I need to tune the approach and go on there and contact.
Vancouver Center, Bombardier, November, Charlie, Romeo, Juliet 70 is out of 13,000 for 6,000.
I've got 2 stages of flap on here, trying to keep the speed down. I'm going to draw the speed back some more in anticipation of it's going to happen very quickly. You got to get the speed let off. And he's gave us the altimeter setting again, barometric pressure, which we don't need to repeat back. Again, it's still the same. Got our speed coming back. We're headed for 6,800. He's totally in control. He can see exactly where we are over the ground. He knows the clearance we need to get over these mountains. He's assigned the altitude. Again, pretend these windows are painted white, clearing cloth over the top. You can't even see out there. You got to trust not only that you knew what you were doing, flying.
Bombardier, Juliet 70, contact Vancouver, approach on 128.6.
128.6 for Juliet 70.
Going to 128.6, Bombardier, Juliet 70.
Tune it. Contact.
Vancouver, approach, Bombardier, November, Charlie, Romeo, Juliet.
These are automatically switching my radios.
1,300, descending 6,800. Bombardier, November, Charlie, Romeo, Juliet 70. Vancouver, approach, roger.
They keep handing us off as we move through different areas of the protected airspace. That's for Pacifica 1874, not me.
Turn right, heading 115, Pacifica 1874. Pacifica 1874. Contact Victoria.
Still, we're in constant descent here, which means I literally am putting flap out and stuff like that, slats actually, on the wings to create drag to keep us from speeding up. You can't just deploy your flaps and your gear at any old speed. You'll rip them right off. You know, stick your hand out the window at 400 miles an hour. See how long your arm stays attached to your body. 400 mile an hour, and then you may even be going faster than that with a tailwind. I mean, you could be doing upwards of 500 miles an hour in this thing. So imagine the wind pressure. So they have to be very sleek, very aerodynamic, and you just stick the nose down, they just start picking up speed really quickly. And just turning the power off, well, that doesn't necessarily help if you're, imagine being 100,000 pounds, super streamlined, and point the nose down. How fast are you going to go? Pretty darn fast. Too fast to deploy gear and flap. At least the kind of flap you're going to need. So we're on our heading, but we're just following direction here. There we go. Turn left head. Heading 245 for Juliet 70.
Turn left, heading 245.
So we're going to use our heading
Bombardier, Juliet 70.
knob here on the autopilot. We're going to go left to 245. Again, I can see it on the compass.
Turn left, heading 200.
And she extended it. Left to 200 for Juliet 70.
Turn left, heading 200. Bombardier,
We're bringing the turn around. I'm just looking at it on the compass and the little pink numbers just above it to the left. You can see the digital. Oh, come on, keep going back. 200. There's 199. There's 200. If you're not watching this on a fairly big screen, if you're trying to watch this on your phone, good luck. You need this full screen.
Now
175. 175 for Juliet 70.
Turn left, heading 175. Bombardier, Juliet 70.
175. We're at 190. Well, we're set for 180, but we're doing 210 here. So I'm going to, bringing the power back even further is not going to help because we're only generating power for 180. So this is literally what's happening as we're descending. We don't need that power. That's me. Down to 5,600 for Juliet 70.
Descend and maintain 5,600. Bombardier, Juliet 70.
I'm going to get some more speed bled off here. I'm reducing the power, but I mean literally most of this speed is happening because of the descent. Once I'm inside 180, I can take the next stage of flap. I couldn't right now. I'll show you what happens. I'll give you an indication. Oh, it lied to me. I'm sorry. This particular aircraft, it would let me take that stage. Otherwise, you hear a buzz sound, like a warning. Retract that if you want to hang on to it.
Juliet 70. Please expedite your descent to 5,600.
Yeah, I have. And that's a little bug. It is set. The trim is set for like that much, but for some reason it just hangs up here, and I don't know why. I really don't. FSX, it's an older program. It does have bugs. I mean, you can go anywhere in the world in this thing. So, yeah, it's a big sandbox. It's the biggest sandbox you'll ever find.
Bombardier, Juliet 70. Turn right, heading 205. Descend and maintain 5,600. Bombardier, Juliet 70. Turn right, heading 205. Descend and maintain 3,900.
right to 205, descend and maintain 3,900.
Turn right heading 205, descend and maintain 3,900. Bombardier Juliet 70.
And bringing the altitude down to 3,900. Whoops, jumped 1,000 on me there at the last second. It always does that for some reason. Another little buggy thing within the program. I didn't really like how they set that up, but that's okay. It's an older program, but I'll tell you, it's still a very worthwhile program to own if you enjoy this kind of stuff at all. Its realism factor is right up there. And I mean right up there. I don't think there's even a newer program that's more realistic, per se.
Bombardier Juliet 70. Turn left heading 175.
175.
Bombardier Juliet 70. You are 2-3 miles east. Turn right heading 235. Descend and maintain 3,000.
She's indecisive. She's a rookie.
Runway 26 left approach. Maintain 3,000 until established on the localizer. Contact Vancouver Tower on 119.55.
Probably sped up a little too much there. Okay, left to 235, or right to 235, descend to 3,000, maintain 3,000 until established on the localizer. Contact the tower on 119.55.
Bombardier Juliet 70. Acknowledge last transmission.
I did, but you didn't hear me.
Turn right heading 235. Vancouver Tower, Bombardier, November, Charlie, Romeo, Juliet, 70 is 21 miles east, inbound
See, now we're
ILS,
leveling out. The
runway
speed is
26
way down
left
here, but we've got the power set for
Bombardier, November,
170.
Charlie, Romeo, Juliet, 70, Vancouver Tower, fly
And we
straight
can
in,
go down
runway
to
26
altitude
left,
3,000.
altimeter 2992.
That'll help us speed up a little bit here.
Fly straight in, runway 26
So he's basically giving us a
left,
straight-in
Bombardier,
approach. He's
Juliet,
just talking about the
70.
approach right now. Basically telling us, just line us up and come straight in. Now, right now, I am watching for these to come alive like a hawk, because we'll sail right through them instantly. We're close in. This is a very fine-tuned set of radio beacons, and literally it's hard not to fly right through them, especially the way that they bring you in this tight. You know, I would have liked to have been on this plot to the runway, 30 miles back, but they don't do that. They keep you over the mountains. They don't want you over the built-up areas, which, they just expect your professionalism to be right up there and your caliber as a pilot to be right up there. If you hold a Canadian commercial pilot's license, you're in the top 3 or 4 licenses in the world, and they're ranked by world license ratings. Like when you hold a Canadian license, you're very respected anywhere you go in the world. Just the quality of the pilot they turn out is very, very, very good. Ranked number 3 or 4 in the world. Second behind, maybe I'm going to guess Germany, possibly Holland. America's like number 26 or 28, in case you're wondering. Okay, so this aircraft is very slow to turn, and it came alive. See how quickly I just sailed right through it. They're bringing in at a fairly sharp angle and tight in, and it's you always sail through it. I don't know too many pilots that don't when they're this tight in to the airport. Okay, so we're only going to chase it this far because it won't take much, and it's going to start making its way back. Once I get this lined up and fairly stable, hopefully before we hit the glide path, but it's so close. Again, they made it very tight for us to get it lined up early. Looks like we're fighting a bit of a wind here. I'm going to give it a little bit more on the heading bug. Yeah, I'm going to give it a little bit more, because that's the runway up there. So we need to move back over a little bit here. Looks like we have a wind from the right, which just means we're just going to be holding this heading to fly this path over the ground. We're turned into the wind.
Tower, orbit 4822 at runway 26 left, ready for takeoff.
This is actually 3,000, not 2,000. This is 2,999. Another one. Oh, there it flicked to 3,000. I put my mouse over it. Come on, buddy, come back in here. I hate it when it does this to me. Especially when you're this tight in. I don't have time to play this game here. They bring you in too tight here. Especially when you get this kind of, coastal winds coming at you. Because it's an unknown. It is a total unknown. You don't know, and you gotta have time to figure out what heading do I have to fly to even just hold it on that course. Never mind recapture it. The wind actually pushed me right through it, even though I've been turning back at it for some time, and we're getting closer in. It just wasn't regaining the ground back to the extended center line, which is like a laser coming off the end of that runway because of wind. And again, it's just an unknown here. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Come on, I'm almost on top of the glide path and I haven't even captured the localizer yet. I got to extend the gear. Yeah, it's a little frustrating because there's the gear going down. It literally gave me no chance to do this. Okay, I'm flying the approach, and basically it's going to hold it and hopefully follow the glide path down at least to keep me on the glide path while I recapture the localizer here. And it's slowly coming back in, but man, nothing like leaving it till the last second, you know, which is never any fun. And that's this program doing that to me. Yes, it's realistic, but you would also have a lot more information to base that realism on. So we're pretty much on the nuggets here again. Now hopefully this is turning faster than what it really is. I don't really appreciate how slowly it's turning, because it's just going to let us go right through to the other side now. Come on. A little frustrating what's happening here right now. And again, we would have a lot more information, and this wouldn't be happening to me in real life. But the simulator, you know, they want to throw everything at you to troubles.
Cleared to land, runway 26 left.
Clear to land, runway 26 left, Juliet 70.
Vancouver, departure on 128.6. Cleared to land, runway 26 left, Bombardier, Juliet 70.
I'm going to set our trims back
128.6, orbit 4822.
to 0. Oops. We're slightly down. Okay, this is what I call right on the nuggets, but talk about last second, you know. I would have, there's the runway lights lighting up, that's runway 26 left. This is 26 right, in case you were wondering. Totally different avionics frequencies for either runway. We're right on the money here, or right on the nuggets as I put it. We're right on runway center line, and we are right on the glide path leading us down to what is the button, as they call it, the beginning of the runway, which is where you want to go. So you got all the runway in the front of you to not only get it on the ground, but apply the brake spring to
approaching 26 left.
So at the last second here, I am going to release the autopilot and the speed to start with. Once I know I've got the runway made, I'm going to basically cut all the power to the engines. Because don't forget, you still got a lot of drag going. You got wheels sitting down and flaps down. That's a lot of drag. It takes power. We're literally pushing the aircraft with the engine power through the atmosphere here. Oh, at the last second here, it's going right on me. Okay, so I'm cutting the speed, and I'm going to disconnect the autopilot. Come on. Get down there. I would have liked to have kept it closer to the button, but come on.
Sync rate.
Yeah, and we're down on the ground. Not the prettiest, but it again. Oh, don't do that to me. Okay, we're down on the ground, and I am cutting the flap to apply, get the lift off the wings. Not the prettiest landing in the world, but once again, you know, one of the faults of this simulator is
Bombardier, Juliet 70, turn next taxiway.
they give you all the troubles that you would naturally experience. I mean, what they did, you know, as far as, you know, the wind and all that and leaving it last second, that is very realistic. But the problem is the simulator does not give you the information as a pilot to anticipate those things. So that's one of the faults of Microsoft Flight Simulator. You know, and it's kind of unfair, because as a pilot, if I knew, you know, the winds were actually this, you know, and I would have a calculator next to me which would tell me what heading I need to
On taxiway.
hold,
On taxiway.
what heading I would need to hold that course. So I would know I'd have to have 15 degrees of cut into the wind to hold it on the localizer. So I knew it was going to send me hard through it. I would have turned out early and let the wind push me onto the localizer, and then had my heading right away turning that 10-15 degrees, and I knew that I would hold it, and I wouldn't have been on the localizer so late. Being that what it is, that was just a demonstration of what is it is a tough landing. Yeah, I did, and I'm ignoring you at this point. So we'll just pause this. So basically, that's a demonstration of what is a much tougher approach. Vancouver is a tough approach, okay? And was I sweating a little bit there? Well, yeah, because again, like I say, it wasn't really a fair playing field. They threw all the troubles at me, didn't give me all the information. But I made the best of it, and hey, we're on the ground and we're alive. You know, didn't bounce the aircraft, but pretty tough there at the end, having to line it up there when it let the localizer go like that too. Again, that's a bug. That wouldn't happen in real life. It wouldn't do that unless it was a strong wind, and I would have just declared a missed approach and gone around. I wanted it on the ground. This is about the 10th time I've tried to record this episode because of little glitches in my software. I haven't been using this for a while, and my controller was definitely giving me conniptions for the last day and a half trying to sort out what the issue was there. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed it, and this was interesting to you. Now this one may have been a little bit more dry because, again, trying to explain why things are going wrong here, and hopefully I'll get a few things more sorted out with the program itself. And I've used it extensively in the past, but it's just been so long that I've forgotten a few of these things. So bear with me. And again, these are live episodes. I don't re-render. You know, I should call this, you know, gaming live, because that's what it is. This isn't a polished product for you. This is the real world and what really happens. So if you enjoyed it, any questions about it, say something in the comments, but please do give us a like on the way out. I'm seeing I get lots of views, and very few people want to say anything, and that's not particularly encouraging. But if you liked it, if you thought it was interesting, give me a like. How about a subscribe? Anyways, we do it because we love to do it. I don't care how many people like and subscribe, but if you did, I appreciate it. And we'll do this one again, not too soon, not too far off. Well, I'm focusing on the farming, but I'm going to be throwing these in there too. So if you like it, come back and see us. Bye for now.